Alright, so with Resident Evil absolutely smashing it out of the park recently with their soft reboot of the franchise with 7, as well as all of their highly regarded remakes, it's hard to not to stop and think about what I think is its counterpart, Silent Hill. I gotta admit, Silent Hill was my favorite survival horror franchise for years. It did and still does hold a special place within my heart. I grew up watching my dad play the second one when I was a kid, and man, I have such fond memories of that title. I was honestly too terrible at video games at the time to actually play that game, but that doesn't stop it from being one of my favorites of all time. I never really got a chance to play the other ones as I grew older, and due to Konami hating their fans and also hating their franchises, playing their older titles today are next to impossible. That's if you wanted to play Homecoming on Steam, which for some reason is the only one that they decided to port after all of these years. And honestly, it's pretty much universally hated by fans and is kind of like a slap in the face to the franchise. But I digress. When it was time to part ways with my PlayStation 2, there was one game that I decided to keep, and that was Silent Hill 2. That's how much I appreciate that game, and it always sits on display in my room due to the effect that it had on me. Over the years, I would always keep up to date on all of the Silent Hill game news, if there were any. Because let's be real, there hasn't really been much. And with the Silent Hill transmission in October of 2022, with all of the new games and movies that are announced, you know, a normal fan would be pretty ecstatic with this news. Well, I mean, we're a pretty hard group to please. A lot of us weren't really too happy with the news. But I mean, I gotta admit, I was pretty happy. But have you seen the Silent Hill Fog posting group on Facebook? I swear everybody who calls himself a Silent Hill fan hates that franchise. But again, I digress. With all of the games and movies that were announced, which is honestly a pretty good handful, as well as Bloober Team's Silent Hill 2 remake, which you'd expect someone like me to be fucking amped for, which I mean, I still am. But from some recent gameplay footage, it really has me doubting the team's capabilities of capturing what made the original great. And with that, I really can't help but think back 9 years ago now when a little game called PT came out, took us all by storm, and teased a new direction in the franchise called Silent Hills. Something that truly caught us all off guard and had all of our hopes genuinely high for the first time in years. This is something that I believe would have had every single fan pleased, reinventing survival horror in every single way, and taking the series in a fresh new direction which was desperately needed and still is desperately needed, only to have it all canceled due to Konami having no idea what the fuck they're doing with themselves. So today, I want to take a second to reminisce on what was and what could have been with PT and Silent Hills. The year was 2014 and we were at a Gamescom conference. A new trailer comes on by 7780 Studios, who were literally unknown. There was a haunting piano melody followed by some words on the screen. I walked and then I saw me walking in front of myself, but it wasn't really me. Will you decipher the enigma? There's a low-pitched voice talking about a gap in the door that leads to a separate reality as we are teased with the world's first interactive teaser. We are shown walking down a creepy hallway. We turn a corner to see a haunting figure standing there, followed by the name of the game, PT, which stands for Playable Teaser, followed by gameplay reactions which are 100% genuine, believe you me, showcasing this teaser to be absolutely terrifying and something worth checking out. And that's what it was. The teaser trailer was very minimalistic and it didn't show us much of anything, but it was effective. On August 12th, 2014, PT was released on the PlayStation Store. This was actually released one day before Gamescom, so when the teaser dropped, I doubt many people had any idea about the game until they saw the trailer due to how ambiguous everything was. I believe it was for people to see the trailer and then to have instant access to the game, not having to wait. Due to nobody having any idea on what it was, due to the brilliant marketing with its effective trailer, people came in droves to download it to see what it was all about. This was the demo of demos, and I think it's really the only demo to be released that has nothing to do with the game it was leading up to. It was downloaded over 1 million times in just under a month. PT had such a strong effect which swept the gaming nation, especially for a short and simple game that was just as minimalistic as its trailer at Gamescom. The premise was simple. You wake up in a room, open a door, and you find yourself in a hallway. You follow the only path you can take, which is ultimately a few right turns. You go down some stairs, it leads to a door, and to your surprise, it leads to the beginning of the hallway again. A loop. An endless loop. Literal insanity. Except you come to find out in order to progress within this game, you have to interact with certain things in the environment to propel you forward. And propelling forward is going through the same loop, but with certain things in the environment which have changed. There's hardly any clues, so you have to slowly chip away at what you need to figure out to do. That's not all though. You quickly find out that you aren't alone, and that this hallway is haunted by a spirit. The spirit's name is Lisa, and goddamn is she terrifying. At times you'll find her standing there waiting for you, creeping behind doorways, staring at you from above, or my personal favorite, she'll pop up out of nowhere if you turn around, scaring the absolute shit out of you. I know that really did it for me. If you knew exactly what to do, you could get through this game really quick, like 20 minutes. But that's the thing, you didn't. PT honestly took me a solid couple days to play through the entire thing, and I had to look online for help, and I guarantee we all did, by the way. If you made it through the final loop without looking up what to do, where you have to listen for a baby's laughter, walk exactly 10 steps forward, hear another laugh, stop dead in your tracks, whisper into your microphone, which it doesn't even tell you to plug your microphone into your controller, and then wait for your controller to stop vibrating in order to progress so you can answer the phone to get out of this godforsaken hallway, you're full of shit. But anyways, this game was universally loved. I remember the reaction videos on YouTube were insane at the time. The community, which was built through PT, was pretty astonishing, since everybody banded together to help one another throughout the game and to further show their undying newfound love towards it, since at the time, there was nothing quite like it. Once you got through the final loop of the game, this is when shit really started to get good, if you thought shit wasn't good already. As you step foot out of the dreadful insanity for the first time, a voice takes over and leads us to what this playable teaser was teasing. We're walking down a dark road which leads up to a foggy town. The fog is eerily familiar, like an old friend waiting to say hello for the first time in years. We hear footsteps and see the name Hideo Kojima appear on screen. The atmosphere amplifies. Guillermo del Toro. Okay, I got chills now. What is going on? We see our protagonist, who we have been playing as, turn around to be none other than Norman Reedus. Okay, what the fuck is this? It is revealed to be Silent Hill, as an S fades in to be Silent Hills. A soft reboot of the franchise, which was very desperately needed. Holy shit, okay, the hype is absolutely real now. It later turns out that 7780s Studios isn't a real studio, and it was revealed that 7780s is another way to say Silent Hill. Confused? Yeah, me too. Let me explain. It is the postcode of the Shizuoka region in Japan. The name translates to Quiet Hills, and the region's name has over the years been nicknamed Silent Hill in Japan. The Scooby-Doo mask comes off, and it is revealed that PT was developed by Hideo Kojima all along, the guy who created Metal Gear Solid. It was all absolutely brilliant and very promising, with what seemed like a return back to form for the Silent Hill franchise, due to the dip in quality that the games have had over the years. Especially since at the time, horror games just really weren't it at the time. They were very action-based and lacked atmosphere and overall good jump scares, and scares in general. Resident Evil is a great example of this, considering what 5 and 6 were. It was revealed that Junji Ito was attached to this new project as well, and if you know Junji is the absolute GOAT in monster design and just designing in general, with his very Lovecraftian body horror type elements applied to his work. The dude is an absolute powerhouse with his art. With Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro, Norman Reedus, and Junji Ito at the center of a Silent Hill game, bro, this was a masterpiece in the making. Talent was stacked. There was a concept trailer which was released a short while later, and holy shit, was that looking promising. I remember watching that back in the day so many times, just absolutely pumped. With Ito's signature style prevalent, making Silent Hill appear to be more unique than ever before, this looked amazing. Even though it was later on revealed this trailer wasn't really representative of the final product, the creativity was oozing and the horror was coming out in all angles. Honestly, if you could make a concept trailer and a playable teaser totally unrelated from what the final product was going to be, you can tell the creative ideas were spilling in every direction and they could just not contain themselves. Silent Hill was going to be good again. Silent Hill was going to be scary again. Silent Hill was going to be psychological again. And Silent Hill was going to be, well, Silent Hill again. But it was all too good to be true, as it seemed. With Kojima working on Metal Gear Solid 5 at the time, production wasn't going into full swing until after that game came out, so there's still some time to be had waiting, unfortunately. There was a lot of uncertainty on the direction that this game was headed in, whether it was going to be first person or third person. This and that, whatever. There was a lot of back and forth, but the guys in charge knew that the only thing that was for certain was that they wanted to make a game that was going to scare the absolute shit out of you. It soon came to be that things started to go downhill and fast. Rumor has it that there was a lot of internal conflict within Konami, some senior staff leaving, creative differences, heads butting, and so on. But after Metal Gear Solid 5 came out, Hideo Kojima left the company due to a falling out. And by left, he got fired after being with the company since 2005. Apparently, with Metal Gear 5, Kojima went over budget, and Konami did not like money being spent one bit, despite them being able to make money no problem if they actually applied themselves to making money. Apparently Konami wanted to exit AAA gaming and focus on mobile gaming, since they believed that that was the future, which is a tone-deaf statement in every regard. It's 2024. Who even gives a shit about mobile gaming these days? I don't know what Konami was thinking, but this was not it. This put the future of Silent Hills up in the air and caused a lot of panic and confusion with all of these months of effective teasing towards this new game. Why exit AAA gaming after Metal Gear Solid 5 if Silent Hills was already in the works? Why tease us with something that could have been so revolutionary if they weren't trying to commit to it? Konami, what the fuck? Kojima went on to start his own company, and with him not being at Konami anymore, this eventually led to the cancellation of the game he was behind. Konami made another tone-deaf statement on April 27th, 2015, saying how there are Silent Hill games in store to come out, and that the franchise isn't dead, but Silent Hills, well, Silent Hills wasn't on the list. I'm not sure what they're on about teasing Silent Hill games being in production and the franchise continuing, because looking back at that was a fucking lie. If you count their stupid pachinko machines though, like, why? It really goes to show Konami does not give a fuck about their star franchises, making their fans happy, but instead would rather make a quick buck. What happened to Castlevania, Konami, huh? Why don't you also give love to Castlevania? What about Castlevania? Why don't you be more like Capcom? They know how to keep the client happy.
Gotta keep the client happy.
After Silent Hills was cancelled, PT, the game which was universally loved and praised, was for some reason pulled from the PlayStation Store, meaning you were unable to download it if you didn't already have it. And if you did have it, but didn't have it installed, you were unable to reinstall it. Ultimate L move. PT quickly became the Flappy Bird of survival horror. After that, this was sending PlayStations with the game installed to be sold for a hot profit on eBay. My PS4 still has that game, and I'm holding onto that shit for dear life at this point. Konami was essentially wiping its hands of what Kojima created and was bound and determined to not make money, turn any more profits, or make a mark within gaming, since I would have expected Silent Hills to have been a massive hit. It's sad because Guillermo del Toro had a chance to make 2 other games in the past before Silent Hills and got those hopes and dreams crushed. But with Hideo Kojima by his side, this time he had hope. Konami really fucked up, but when don't they? Del Toro and Reedus would later state how the cancellation of Silent Hills makes absolutely no sense, showing their distaste of the action. But Kojima stayed noble and stated how he enjoyed his time at the company, despite how he was treated, which, I mean, it's respectable. It also makes me sad and forever bitter to say the absolute least, because with the powerhouse of a team that we had behind the project, we can only think about what could have been. PT over the years has become quite the phenomenon, causing people to remake the game and make games directly inspired by the now classic, such as Visage, Layers of Fear, and Allison Road. With Silent Hills' cancellation, Resident Evil did a soft reboot of the franchise with 7, which shot directly back to its horror roots, making the scariest game in the franchise, no doubt, which to this day remains the scariest game I've ever played.
Ow! Fuck me, bro! Ah! Your way out of this! Oh, dude, I hate this. I got no space for anything except Marguerite's loving. Ah! That was genuine, bro. That was genuine.
Whew. The exact thing that Kojima, Del Toro, Ito, and Rita set out to do themselves, and I truly believe PT inspired the direction that game went in. The team behind Silent Hill said that this was their plan all along, by going back to their horror roots, and seeing the success of PT only assured them that they were going in the right direction all along. But I believe it inspired them more than they're willing to admit. How can you not take your counterparts' plans before their cancellation so you can remold them to be your own to propel yourselves forward, since they're not doing anything with it anyways? With the way Resident Evil went with their games onward, basking in so much success with an entirely new generation of fans, I can only imagine that left Konami a little bitter on what could have been if they stuck to their guns on releasing Silent Hills and going from that. They could have had lightning in a bottle, but they truly failed to capture it. Trying to focus on mobile gaming just maybe wasn't the smartest move after all, was it? Maybe all of that is why they're attempting to pummel out all of these titles in the coming couple years, but we'll see if they even follow through with these promises. There's a handful of games and a couple of movies. Who's to say that this isn't an example of quantity over quality, as they desperately try to regain their time in the spotlight again to cash in on the hype of survival horror these days. But aside from the Silent 2 remake, we've heard virtually nothing of any of these titles that were announced. All we've gotten is an interactive mobile app, which, I mean, checks out since they wanted to focus on mobile gaming, and a free Silent Hill game, which was recently released on the PlayStation Store, which, I mean, it looks pretty alright. But I guess we'll see when the time comes if any of these titles were worth canceling Silent Hills over. But I'm not getting my hopes up. Wow, I can't believe this all took place 9 years ago. 10 years in August. A whole decade. It really doesn't feel like that long ago, but time really does fly when you have your hopes and dreams absolutely fucking crushed. Horror gaming is in such a good place right now. And if Silent Hills would have come out when it was supposed to and didn't get canceled, it could have spawned a sequel or two, been in the same place as Resident Evil right now, and the franchise as a whole could have been front and center with everything else thriving and prospering within the survival horror community. Resident Evil and Silent Hill could have been coexisting in quality content again, which I believe that's how it's supposed to be. But Konami just had to say that the future of gaming is mobile and abandon everything that made them who they are for pachinko machines. I still can't get over and honestly get a little sad when thinking about the talented team that was behind this project and how things just got scrapped after such an effective build-up. Man, I'll never get over it. Even though with all of these Silent Hill titles coming out in hopefully the near future, and the couple that have already dropped recently with pretty mediocre reception, Silent Hills could have been the modern definitive game of this franchise and would have still been talked about to this day, looking back at it as a classic. I truly believe that none of these upcoming titles captured what we could have got within Silent Hills. Who knows? Maybe one of them will, but from what I've seen and heard from these titles, I will remain hesitant. And honestly, be forever bitter at the company who has absolutely no idea what the fuck they're doing and pretends that their fans don't exist. Konami truly does not know how to keep the client happy.